you said that this is a team that might have a top 5 defense. Su'a, you and I were talking about both of the games so far this season on the post-game show. You think of Sean McVay, you think of offense, you think of, creativity, innovation, a lot of points, and, you go back to when he was here and he broke the NFL. They're going to score 50 points every game, all that kind of stuff. This team feels like as many great players as are on offense, as good as Puka is, as good as Devontae is, as good as Matthew Stafford is, they might be a defensive-first football team. I don't know if we'll ever think of it that way because of McVay, but the facts are the facts. They don't give up. They've given up 1 touchdown this season.
It's funny. You can start shifting your narrative or your thought process to think of Sean McVay and think of winning. Like think of Andy Reid and think of winning, right? It doesn't matter how you're getting it done as long as you win. Belichick was a guy. The names kept changing except for 1 or 2 guys, and you won in different ways. You had a good offense. You had a good defense. I think right now what you have is you have a dearth of good players on defense, especially around the front 7. That's just the way the cookie crumbled. That's the way the draft happened. That's the way your talent acquisition went. So you have a lot of good young players on defense and some really talented players that are making a lot of money on offense. Now, you only get that for so long before the economics of football make you change. So at some point, I do think that offense, as long as they keep progressing like they are, because they came back like gangbusters in the second half. They really turned it on. And I thought you were going to start the show with something. I thought you were going to say Blake Corum, Blake Corum, Blake Corum.
Oh, we'll get there.
I knew it.
Okay.
He played well. He played well.
I brought this up to you yesterday.
Yeah.
Look, Blake only had 5 carries.
Yes.
They were really good 5 carries.
They were very explosive, weren't they? Very quick.
Tell me if I'm wrong here. Tell me if I'm seeing things. Did Kyren Williams not look a little extra fast when he came back in after
Funny
Blake
how that
Corum?
happens, right?
Like, all of a sudden, it's like, you know what? Let me hit that hole just a little bit more speed, a little bit more of this or of that. Like, more Corum seems like a very good idea to me.
I'm going to tell you a story. So this was going back a year ago. It was a year ago. Maybe, it was a year ago. So this is the rise of Puka Nacua, right? The rise of Puka Nacua it coincides with the
decline of Cooper Kupp.
So it's the first time we pull Cooper Kupp aside, like we're going to pull you into the middle of the locker room and give you a press conference. So we're asking Puka about his game and what he saw and how happy are you to, blow the roof off the joint. Right behind him is Cooper Kupp watching the interview, right? And it's weird. It's like a passing of the torch. Sure. It happens right there. Okay, same thing just happened this weekend in Tennessee. Blake Corum gets pulled to the front. Right behind him is Kyren Williams. I like competition at running back.
I do too.
It brings out the best in both of them.
I do too.
It all depends on how you handle it. And the one thing I did like was it was the Blake Corum show. On social media, people are saying Blake Corum should be the starter. On the way out, the first guy to give Kyren a big hug and say you balled out was Sean McVay.
Yeah.
You can't lose that guy. That is your starter.
They just paid him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they just paid him. And by the way, he had a Kyren Williams game.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he had a bunch of carries. He picked up a decent amount of yards. He didn't get in the end zone. Like, Sue, I know you're a fantasy guy. Like, Kyren's good for nearly a touchdown a game, it seems like. And he's going to get to play a lot. He's going to be the featured back. I'm going by memory here. I think Kyren had 17 carries, and I think Blake had 5. Like, if we went down to, let's call it 14 and 8, that feels like a better split to me. Like, just a little bit more from
I would
Corum.
say this. Whoever gets what, you're going to have to maximize your carries because the next guy ain't waiting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, depending on who's hot, you may ride the hot hand. But I would say Kyren goes out first. And let me see those numbers where Kyren had 17 for 66, 3.9, a 15-yard long, and no touchdowns. Blake Corum, 5 for 44. 8.8 yards a carry, also had a long of 15 and a touchdown. Looked pretty darn good. Either way, I could care less. What I like is 25 carries, 150 yards rushing for the team. I could care less who's carrying, as long as you're matriculating the ball down the field.
I agree with that in general, but Sue, is it not better to have 2 guys that can do it, 2 guys that are a little bit fresher, 2 guys that are pushing one another, as opposed to one guy carrying 75% of the time?
You're not going to turn down production from anybody, especially if it's depth. So with Kyren, especially given his size, I know Blake's the same size, but you got to keep him fresh throughout the season. He is your starter. You just paid him. He's not going anywhere. So you want Blake Corum to give him some competition to keep Kyren motivated.
Champagne problems. And they showed their offense in a way, like yesterday in the second half, you're like, oh, that's really
Looked
good.
Pretty good. Oh, I had something else. I was trying to work this into the broadcast. This is when Terrence Ferguson got on the field, right? And he's lining up on offense. And he goes to Puka's side. So he's in the slot, and he's trying to tell Puka where to line up.
Wait, start that over again?
When he ran the slant, right?
Terrence Ferguson is lining up Puka Nacua like, you need to be off. You need to be off. He's like, dude, I know.
I want to talk about Terrence Ferguson because he didn't play he made a tackle on the block PAT.
A hell of a tackle.
Yeah, it was a pretty good tackle. $1 Million